What music are you into?
I like this. It's very grown up.
Today we're talking about Zoomergaze. A couple months ago, the channel Neopunk FM made a video called What is Zoomergaze, where they tried to invent a new word or genre to describe the sad shoegazy music that a lot of sad Gen Z kids listen to. Now, just off hearing that word, you probably think that it's just shoegaze music, and sort of is, but it's a little more than that. I think it's best to split this into three genres: emo bands, mainly Midwest emo bands, shoegaze bands, and metal bands, as well as a couple other ones that don't really fit into any of those categories. Now, before I get into things, I should mention that I'm using these playlists on Spotify as reference because it's really the only reference out there right now. So if I don't mention something that's in here, I'm sorry. I'm not going to mention everything, but yeah. So we're starting off with every sad white kid's favorite genre, Midwest emo. And right off the bat, now I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really not a fan of this album. It's a little overrated. There are some good songs, but some of it just drags a lot. And on top of that, I don't even know why it's here. I mean, like, yeah, the lyrics are sad. You know, that fits in. All the lyrics fit in with what this genre is supposed to be. But there's really no shoegaze elements to this. Like, literally nothing. But don't worry, because the next few bands do make a lot of sense to be here. Now, me and my friend have poked a lot of fun at Title Fight, mainly just because, you know, they're like dorky suburban white dudes. But, I mean, that's pretty normal for this. And the more I've listened to them, I do think that the music is pretty damn good. I really didn't expect it, but it did surprise me. Now, the main difference between Title Fight and American football is that Title Fight's instrumentals are very in-your-face and distorted and hazy, and that remains the case for bands like Joyce Manor, Basement, and my favorite, The World is a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die in it. That's a mouthful. I don't know why, but I've always felt like The World is a Beautiful Place has had so much emotion, more than any other band in this genre. I do think that sometimes their songwriting is a little bit meh, but I don't know, it just... everything about it, I think it's because they take their time more. Like, all their songs are like 5-ish minutes, so I don't know, that maybe that has something to do with it, but it just takes you on a ride, man. Now, that's not to say that the other bands I mentioned aren't good. I think the main difference is that The World is a Beautiful Place uses sort of its own whatever the fuck it wants to song structure, whereas the other bands, you can tell that there's more of like a punk influence in the way that they structure their songs.
Considered by the ocean, you can teach the 7th grade. Do you think because you chose to, you always...
Also, I don't think the band Tiger's Jaw is on the list, but I did want to mention them. They're not exactly the most shoegaze type band, but you know, they're pretty good. If you like the bands I just mentioned, you should check them out if you haven't before. Alright, now let's talk about metal because it's probably the shortest one. Now, there are only like 2 bands in these entire playlists that were metal, so obviously Deftones. That's really no surprise. Now, I haven't always been the biggest fan of Deftones, but I did give them a second chance recently, and I can say that I enjoyed it a lot more. My biggest gripe with them for a while was that all of their songs sound the exact same, but then I realized that, hey, I listen to punk all the fucking time, and all of that sounds the same, so they deserve a second shot. And I think the only other metal band that I saw on this playlist was a very similar band to Deftones, Fleshwater. Now, let's just be real. If you're watching this video, you've definitely listened to Deftones, so I'm not going to get into them, but I will get into Fleshwater. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard Fleshwater, but if you haven't, I wouldn't be that surprised either, because they blew up in 2022 out of nowhere, just off of like a 25-minute album, which is crazy. Now, they do have another band called Vane FM, which is much heavier, so I guess you could attribute some of the popularity of Fleshwater to that, but overall, I do think that most of the audience is new. I don't think that they know about Vane FM, and I think that shows that a lot of people find it very refreshing, even if it does sound a lot like Deftones. It is nice to hear this sound come back. All right, now let's move on to the biggest one. Shoegaze, obviously. Now, it shouldn't really be a surprise that shoegaze is the longest, given that, the genre is named after it. And to kick things off, we're going to start it nice and easy with My Buddy Valentine. If you somehow never listened to this band, they're basically the essential bass shoegaze band. Like, if you say the word shoegaze around any young person, they're probably going to think of this band first. Now, like most people, I usually only think of them for one album. Not to say that all of their stuff isn't good, but Loveless is so beautiful. All right, with that one out of the way, let's talk about some modern shoegaze bands. I think a big one that comes to mind for modern shoegaze bands is Julie. Now, despite only having like a handful of songs out, their biggest song has 30 million plays on Spotify. Now, does it mean that it's overhyped? No, this is a really good band. Now, usually I'd try and recommend like an EP or an album, but they only have like 10 songs, so just listen to all of it. Also, go check out their merch. It's really good. I have to talk about Flying Fish, too. This dude's like 15 and popping the fuck off. I still remember when his first song came out, and even then, I thought it was really crazy how much attention he was getting. And I think he's deserved all the attention he's gotten. I mean, it is very abrasive music. I feel like it might be a little bit divisive for shoegaze fans, but honestly, I think everyone should give it at least a chance. I'm going to rattle off the next few bands pretty quickly just because they don't really have that much music. First, we got Glare. Then Whir. And Blue Smiley. Up next is They Are Gutting a Body of Water, and this is probably my favorite shoegaze band right now. If you want a good place to start with Destiny XL and S, and then from there, just listen to whatever else. They have this weird element to their songs that sounds almost like it's from a video game, and I think it's intentional. I don't know why, but I really like these little effects. They just do a lot for me for some reason. Last band I want to mention here is Duster. I'm not a huge Duster fan. I think they sound nice, but they're just a little bit too slow for me. But I think they do deserve a spot here because I know a lot of people my age love the album Stratosphere. So go check it out. I mean, I think I'm the minority, so you might like it. I wanted to mention a few other artists that didn't really fit into any of these three categories. First one is Sylvia Plath. You know what song I'm talking about. I was all over her. This song went fucking viral a couple years back. And I like it, but it is pretty depressing. It's a little too depressing for me. But it is a good song, and I'm sure a lot of people do like it.
Don't know what I wanted. I have a memory. Back at that party, I was all over her.
There's also Beach House, which I guess you could put into shoegaze if you wanted, but I feel like it's different enough that it's its own thing. If you don't remember who Beach House is, they made the Space song, which I guarantee you've heard before. And last, I have a Nice Life with their album Death Consciousness. Now, if you didn't know, this album was recorded on a laptop microphone on a $1,000 budget, so the fact that it sounds as good as it does is insane. Now, the thing about this album is that it has quite a lot of different genres that it plays around with, so I really don't know where to put it. Like, there's some songs where I could say, oh, this is shoegaze, but then right after that, it's just an ambient song for 10 minutes. I can't recommend this album enough, and I know it's probably weird that I don't like Duster, but I like this album, but I don't know, man. This album is just on another level. Now, originally I was just going to end the video here, but there are a lot of artists that aren't in these playlists that I do think should be more recognized, and I think that they do fit into this Zoomergaze genre. So I just wanted to dedicate the end of this video to talking about those artists and hopefully getting more people to listen to them. And if I happen to mention any artists here and they were in the playlists and I just didn't notice them, I'm sorry. These playlists are like a day long, so, you know, I did my best, but yeah. Alright, up first is Alex G. I'm really surprised I didn't see this dude in any of the playlists. Like, his music is really in line with what this genre is going for. It's another one of those artists where I can't really fit his music into any of the three categories I made, but it's still very melancholy and sort of nostalgic, so if that counts for something, then I do think it should be in the Zoomergaze playlist. If you haven't listened to him before, go check out the song Treehouse. That's a great example of what I'm talking about. If you want something a little more abrasive, you should check out Come In by Weather Day. I don't really know what to classify this as either, but just go listen to the first song and you'll get the idea pretty fast. Also, if you've ever listened to Five Pebbles or Lola's Pocket PC, that's the same person that made Weather Day. These next two are kind of a no-brainer, but I don't think they're that popular, so people don't talk about them. Those bands would be Acid Ghost and Guitar Fight from Fooly Cooly. Now, Acid Ghost kind of holds a special place in my heart. It was one of the first, like, Midwest sad emo bands that I ever found. And, you know, the music's pretty good, but they haven't made anything in a while because I think their singer did some really creepy shit. Actually, scratch that. They made an album in 2023, but I'm pretty sure it's just the singer. So, you know, I mean, it's not bad, but it is kind of sad. And ironically, I think that my favorite song by them is All Alone.
And I'm all alone.
On the other hand, Guitar Fight from Fooly Cooly is still very much in business and making some pretty good music. I'd say check out their album Soak, although all the stuff they made is good, but they have sort of this nerdy element to their music, and it's, I don't know, like, at first I thought it would be kind of cringy, but it is kind of charming.
Let's go! It's me, Mario!
Sort of in that same genre is the band Surf Curse, and if you don't know who Surf Curse is, they're the guys that made this. I think the last one I need to mention is a guy that nobody ever talks about ever. Dreams We've Had. I don't know, maybe I'm just not talking to the right people, but I have never heard anyone talk about this guy. If I had to recommend an album here, I'd definitely say go listen to Everything in You. It's a very emotional album about a guy reminiscing on memories about his girlfriend or wife that passed away suddenly. So yeah, please go show that guy some love, as well as every other artist I've talked about. If you have any opinions on any of the bands I talked about, if you agree or disagree with any of my takes, let me know. This is just me throwing my hat into the ring of something that's relatively new, so of course no one's going to completely agree on anything, but I would love to hear what your definition of Zoomergaze is. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Thank you. Thank you for 200 subscribers. I forgot to say a fucking thank you when I hit 100, so sorry about that. But thank you for 200 subs. That's crazy. And hopefully we just keep going up. But yeah, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Don't give a fuck about no goddamn bitch unless she sucks on this goddamn dick.